Hey there, people. Today I would like to talk about this concept. Probably have heard of it about the crabs in the bucket. You know, when one crab who starts climbing up out of the bucket, the other ones pulls it pulls it back. So because they don't want to be left, they don't want that crab to get out, and they don't want themselves to get out, so they want to stay together. And And I keep noticing that, especially when your vibration rises or when you start growing, changing when your vibration rises, when you start taking care of yourself more, and your self-concept changes and environment around you, if my environment is stagnant and unwilling to change and move with you, you either you start climbing up and the crabs start pulling you down. It's like, yes, it's not so much, in the case of humans, those crabs can be humans or our own thoughts, um, thoughts about our past self. Even when we're changing, our past self or past versions of ourselves who we were starts coming in and telling, like, you are this. Remember, you did this, um, and trying to remind us everything, all the things what they did wrong, all our mistakes, the ways or circumstances where contradict of the versions we are now or where we aspiring to be, continuing to be. And it can be challenging. Oh, it can be truly challenging. And I admire people who keep on pushing regardless, cutting those crab legs behind them with no remorse. Because sometimes compassion and niceness to those crabs, especially, works against your own betterment and their own. That's fine if they want to stay where they are. Misery loves company, and there can be in that bottom of crabs can be a lot of compassion and love, and people, live the way they love, they want to live there, and that's life. That's a lot of experience to be. But when you are, climbing up out of that, because it's too small, it's too crowded, and you see that there are other things to learn, other buckets to exist in, or ponds, if you wish. Those crabs start getting into your awareness to try, test you. Ah, how much do you want out? Um, it can be dramatic if you're into that. I sometimes can find, used to find, rising up to better self, where reminding myself, like, where is the blessing in that, where is the lesson in that, and how am I growing from this, um, learning as well that we need other people, we need collaboration, and also that we can intimidate others as well. It's like we, being those crabs who are climbing out of the bucket. Nothing wrong with the bucket. It's bucket. It's just too small, maybe. Been too long in that bucket. It's a reminder to other crabs that you, I'm not willing to change. That, and for me to climb out of this bucket, there has to take a lot of change in me. And which I'm not willing to take. I'm not willing to take this responsibility. I'm not willing to take responsibility of my emotions or actions in my life, finances or relationships, my behavior, or the way I see the world. And we want those crabs who remind, who represent that. We want those down. It was like, stay with me, stay with us in this misery, because you remind me how lesser of a person I might be, which is, a less issue perspective. And today, I have, not just today, the past few days, and actually, as my vibration kept rising, I've been called out, to really shed this is, as this year is ending, to really shed what's not serving me and everything, any residues of limited beliefs, or maybe residues of past trauma, past situations that I've been holding on, a past version of myself that I was still somewhere holding on, or even the emotions or things or karmic things that's been, living in my karmic cycle of existence through the past lives and past years and other incarnations. Everything, everything that needs to come up, it comes up, rises up for it to be cleared and resolved. And sometimes old, events, even circumstances from childhood, comes up to be replayed, so we can become aware of it and dig into it and just let it go. Because the universe, sometimes we can have a lot of compassion for ourselves and each other, because that's a very valuable and unique human trait. But then, as the universe sometimes don't have compassion for you. It's just like, that's how it is. We need that. Universe can be very rough with us, and sometimes we need to be there for ourselves to give that extra care and compassion. I was like, universe, I see you're really, giving me a wake-up call in certain ways. And it was like, oh. So I've been dealing with some people recently who's been, sensing my energy, and I'm dealing with myself as well, noticing that, well, if my vibration rises too high and a bright to shine, I'm too authentic and I'm too outspoken, I'm doing things, right, or by the book, holding others accountable around me in my life. Irritates people, of course, because it becomes not about them and their problems and their own hypocrisy that they or us live. The person who is, representing that or mirrors that is the problem. And I've been dealing with the issue in my household currently that I live. It's a shared household which served me quite well the past several years. It was the environment, right environment for me to live. It wasn't very nurturing for my inner child, because there were, of course, because with living with several people and in an intimate space can be challenging, because there are different personalities and different, things going on, things that in their lives, and when people struggle with their emotional boundaries and have that intelligence on accountability, it can be a lot, And I've, learned to voice my boundaries and knowing what's right, what's wrong, and stand for that, and not allowing other people, energies, or problems, or accusations, or perspectives of me, trouble my life, and and that can be, sometimes for people challenging, and you can be a villain in many people's lives, like especially me having quite strong leadership qualities and being quite, you know, um, direct with things and saying things as they are, being honest. Ooh, especially in England. In England, that can be quite, oof, breath of fresh air. And the way people communicate, but they also have this quality, good quality of diplomacy to know that, yes, I communicated that directly. It might ruffle some feathers, but it was diplomatically approached, and I know that intentions were good, and of course, always willing to learn and improve, and asking, knowing that, not calling out the problem, but calling action for solution, resolution, and positive outcome, knowing what's expected, what I expect. So there's no mind reading. So so in that regard, so I've been approached with situation where a person could not handle their emotional state of being, their own emotional frustration, and was looking for emotional punch bag. And as the person who don't like me, as the individual has their own some sort of um, unhealed feminine traits, which causes them to compete with other women, to feel better about their worth, self-esteem, and how they are, instead of taking inspiration and take change in whatever they see in me or around others that causes their demons and shadows, sorting out themselves. But the person dealt with struggles to manage that, and physically assaulted me, and therefore knowing how to deal with these things, know very well how safeguarding and how to set boundaries, and how knowing the person as well, that they where they are, and they're not going to learn or apologize from that, um, just to pull other people into their world and get emotional outlet and some sort of emotional, how to say, release. Because there are two kinds of people: either they take everything in and deal with things in themselves and repress it, either deal with them or take everything and suppress it with some sort of coping mechanisms, avoidance, addictions, some sort of negativity, and holding that in, and not when they're not willing to process it in healthy ways, or they look for other people and outlets to get out of it. So that usually it's projections, conflicts, and looking for other people to play into that dynamics to get their stuff out, so they can resolve. So following that situation, reported the issue to the police, and I'm surprisingly, and of course that called out. I worked with that situation, and police asked me, it's like, because they said, okay, this person is going to jail if you write a report and everything moving forward. How they're doing, and I was like, wow. Now having instantly, I was like, wow, trying to. Everything was very fresh the same day, and it's just an hour after the incident, and I was like, oh my god, it's like I can see where this person is coming from, and the struggles they are going through, and their own kind of, say, little misery that they exist in the loop of emotional unaccountability. And I was like, putting a person in jail, and I'm never a fan of jail. It's like putting people in jail. When did that solve things? Is the jail giving them therapy? Is the jail giving them um, trauma release and workshops and learning about emotional intelligence? How is that going to solve? It's like I'm probably I'm the victim on my own, our thinking and empathy, uh, and that's things there's some residue things to work on. And I was like, well, I'm not sure that the jail is going to help them, because what I want is them to take accountability for their own actions and how they resolve the things in their lives, and not to bother me with that, and not to assault me, and to prove that I'm not, some sort of person that they can, come around, and bother me if they doesn't like me. Um, and I said, like, I'm not going to write a report on them, but if they are still, like $1,000, then we continue with that. And of course, police approached this person and said to stay away from me for the time being. But how that would unfold, that's for the universe and all that. And I knew that, so I worked with that situation. And later on a bit, I kind of regretted not to, not to reporting, not to, get them to court, but then as well understand how karma works. And I asked my guys, what is the best solution on that? What's the, because sometimes, it creates certain karmas and contracts with people, and you have to know, and what is the contract and what's the karma and what is the best, that time that was felt the best thing to do. And as a response to the situation, this person started creating his the flying monkeys, because what's probably coming up, but how they dealt me in the situation, and started probably shitting my pants, knowing that I'm not joking about these things, and since I'm not person who allows things to get away, especially when it's about my protecting my peace and well-being. And starting creating, collecting the flying monkeys, so calling out people, creating the situation where they are the victim, where I'm the perpetrator, and framing the reality in the way that suits and saves them out of the situation. And those girls, I was like, if they're doing what they're doing, bothering other people with that, and that's their life. But what happened is that the landlords came in, and regardless of the facts of incident and the lies the person gave to them, and the crocodile tears expressed, the landlords of took their side, because and not side, more like just basically advised me, giving no actual constructive criticism to anything, and refused to acknowledge the facts and the reality of things. Sides with people who giving the sad story, in some sort of misery. And yeah, and the landlords asked me to, move out of the place where I live now, which is actually for the best because I really outgrew this environment and the energy it holds. It served me well for the time being when I was shed a lot, and I had some karmic contracts with people who lived here as well, and I had good relationships with neighbors and my garden and everything. But I definitely outgrew the energy and of course the all the accusations and blaming and frustration that was directed on me. I'm not taking any of that because that's projections. A lot of that is individual projections, and when someone has certain story in their head, and and as they explain, it's like, well, um, as they've been. Hmm. And of course, I understand as well the perspective of the landlords. It's business for them, and they don't care about the justice and reality of things, and especially when the things I've seen or actions taken, in a more bird's view perspective, and when you hold people accountable, and when themselves they don't want to, see from that space and the vibrations in that different place, and from their perspective they're seeing the situation the way they want to see and frame the person individual that fits that situation perspective. And that really did not bother me much. I saw that, and I acknowledge that that's their perspective. That's their mind creation, that I am their mind creation, and there's nothing to change in that, and there is nothing for me to be sad about. um, just to establish boundaries. Yeah. Mm. And I also agree that it's the best for me as well to move out. So I have a certain time because basically the landlords don't want problems as that, and as me setting boundaries with people caused a lot of some of the other people in the past emotional frustrations, and they went with their stories to them bothering them. So yeah, so not right. But I understand as well. It's not really so much about the dynamics and victim or perpetrator dynamics. And so of course we have to manage, acknowledge that where there's no the actual abuse is taking place, and who's to be held accountable. I'm very proud of myself how I handle the situations and all incidents, and acknowledging how much I grew, how much I learned, and all the training in the past and work environments that and people I lived in. It was such a school for me for emotional regulation, for conflict management, the boundary setting, and realizing what's mine and what's other people's, and also call out, realizing where is the actual core issues of the problem and fixing that, rather than dealing with the consequences of issues that are not dealt and not approached beforehand, and the risk assessment not being taken place. And it can be challenging when you are a person who has natural leadership, qualities. Um, it can irritate quite a lot of people, and I understand. I have a lot of compassion now for politicians. How people hate politicians. Oh my God, it's like people love hating and pouring dirt on people who are in leadership positions. Although they are not going to rise up to the position, they may want to have the respect people gain with the position on a name. They might love to be in a place where people listen to them, and they have and that their word and the decisions have power. But therefore they don't rise to the occasion of that. If they do, if they don't have the qualities for that, if they don't have the management skills, don't have the capacity to hold the pressure, to see the things that needs to be done, and hold accountability, show up, to rise to the occasion of the issue and manage the resolution of it, and also deal with people who also have to take place in certain environments and places, and be held them accountable so that things can work where everyone benefits, and deal with people who don't want to change and don't want that betterment that they say that they want, and deal with also with accusations and blamings and projections. uh, and it's like so much compassion. Oh, and it's like and the pressure again. It's like people don't rise, don't step into the uh, leadership positions. Although they want, they might be jealous of that. Because understand, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work and a lot of responsibility. They want the good things, but don't see or maybe have tasted some of it. Don't rise to the occasion. Never wanted to be leader. I actually wanted, and I always find myself taking that position of the leadership also, although I don't just situations, environments calls out for that. If there is someone who's doing the things, who's taking that place and doing the things right, bless that. I don't have to do it. Thanks God. I can rest. Someone's taking care of the things, and I can see doing the right job, and everything's working well. And I'm glad when that's done. I was like, but when issues are arising and things need to be done, I was like, oh, okay, had to be done, and you have to take that, and that happens quite often in different environments, and exercising those small qualities in my own personal life and environments, at work, and in the past, and it's so yeah, so it's weird, but things like that happen, and I see myself in the past. I used to really, when things like that happened, it really affected me quite heavily. Triggers your insecurities. So I was like, oh no, people don't like me. Oh no, people are trying to frame me or see me bad. Uh, and and people are against me or whatever. Like this me against them dynamics, and people not going to see me in the right light. I was like, how much of that comes from some sort of insecurities and people pleasing tendencies. I was like, that's fine. Even today, it was like, yeah, some people really don't like you, uh, and I was like, yeah, I can see you also don't like me, and that's fine. You don't have to like me. I'm not looking for likes. I have the needs of, you know, speaking the truth, and that's the need of mine, and be true to myself, making sure that I'm protecting my peace and what I feel right, and I know my intentions are good, and if you don't like or respect me for that, that's your issue. That's mine. That has nothing to do with my reality. Has nothing to do with who I am, and and what I think about myself. And it's interesting when it's like, and just went like a water of the goose, these things. When in the past, it used to, ruffle my feathers. And of course, I've worked on that. And I think that's a call to everyone, who is experiencing that. When these things like that happen in your life and and someone else's perception. And of course, I am villain in many people's lives, and there are villains, and in my life, and I'm working on that. They worked quite a lot, and then also when the occasion and heightened emotions of when something bothers me too much than it I feel it should, and trying to work with that. What's actually the root cause of that? Is that past experience that was unresolved emotionally keep resurfacing for me to acknowledge it? Is it the belief about myself that is, manifesting and needs attention? In this situation, these crabs representing and mirroring me that, I'm growing this place, and these crabs feeling uncomfortable, me being there, state of being where I am, and me needing, a bigger bucket where I can continue growing. If you keep in a bucket with crabs, which is too small, you don't grow. You need that, um, air to breathe, space where you shall can grow. And yeah, so for this time, looking where to go, what's next, what's there in the universe, what's calling me, because I know universe is calling me, which is nice. I'm seeing positive in that, and I wonder what's the next step on that. Yeah, and also call out the universe and whoever's watching that, you see those hidden blessings in everything that's happening, regardless of the state you are in. And I know that we all do mistakes, and I know that we all are not perfect. But as long as we show up to the occasion, as long as we show up to ourselves, and as long as we do our best to take accountability what's happening within us and what affects our life, and look for and ask those questions. How can I improve the situation? What's the message behind the situation, and what's happening within me internally? And try not to, fall into old habits of coping to avoid what's raising up in us. That's a call out for myself to, choose better. Be wiser. And yeah, take care of ourselves, how that works. And we cannot always do the right thing. We can try, we can make the intention do the right for ourselves and others involved, and, and work with what's coming up, not hide from ourselves, to really rise to the occasion, how it feels right. And the people who gets involved with the dynamics with me, I hope that they, learning their lessons where they felt victimized, try to frame themselves as a victim, and or vice versa. What's the lesson in that? What's the, the core message? And the karma, karma is not a bitch. Karma is a beautiful mirror of uh, cause and effect, and calling us to the unity, knowing that everything needs to come into balance. We cannot run away. And sometimes when people, do wrong by my perception, I feel much more calmer, and no, karma is going to take care of that. My God's going to take care of that, and that gives a lot of peace and reassurance. So there's no, need to be stuck into this, like, oh, I need to take justice. Oh, I need to make things right. Oh, I need to feel that person as bad as I feel. And it's like sometimes it's nothing to do with other people. And quite often, God sends me to people's lives, shake things up. And I was like, why is this? Sometimes I ask the universe, why is this person in my life? Because I see energetically we're very not aligned and we have different frequencies and in different perceptions of minds. And it's like, why is this person in my life? And the answer is like, they need to change. And I was like, and you're bringing the energy of change. And the same with sometimes work environments where I can see the vibration is quite low, or there's conflict going on, and some weird ways of behavior that people are not seeing how they are destroying their own lives and the environment. And sometimes, when you get drained and challenged there, and you do your thing, try to do your best. And it's like, universe, why am I there? Because I know universe places me there. I was like, or calls me there. I was like, that place needs to change. And I was like, okay, okay. And of course, I always have the choice, um, play into that or not to play into that, do that or not to do that. We are not prisoners of, but but when you are, pledged to the God or higher self, universe, whatever you are, to serve God or higher self, sometimes you are just called to go where you're meant to be, to places, people, relationships, because there is some energy we need to bring. There's some way of perspective and seeing things we need to bring. And because of my way of communicating and a different, unique perspective of seeing things and my direct approach, which is very valuable tool of God. Places, so it brings me people sometimes. Just either it's long-term relationships or very brief interactions with people. Sometimes I feel interacting with people and I feel the need to say them something or talk about something, and it ends up life-changing for them. That's the perspective they have not seen, and that's the solution they were looking for, or that's the words that were very healing for them. And that's it. It's like you're there and you're off. And sometimes there's no need to linger, question too much. And when you are quite used to it, sometimes you stop even questioning that. You just know. It's like, yeah. And if you see the results change, and if people give you feedback afterwards, oh, you see why you needed to be there. Oh, you see sometimes. So when I see the certain environment, oh, I see why I'm here. If you're quite self-aware of the energy you bring in. So it's interesting experiences that life's, bringing us. And I hope that, gives you a bit of more wider perspective on the things that's happening in your life and environment, especially this year ending. And because 2005, I think, is 2025 is, the year of shedding endings, and a lot of karmic residue is being shed. And as we are stepping in 2026, it's all about, moving forward with our new selves without carrying anything from the past. And if you feel extra challenged at this time, know that the things are just asking you to persevere and ask what you need to. If you feel extra that things are suddenly, people are leaving or circumstances changing, or um, are you being emotionally a bit of unease and stressed, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. Turn to healthy coping tools, movement, maybe meditation, journaling, call out friends, try to find some, positivity and upliftment in between, and sit with your emotions if it's rising. If you need to cry, if you need to do some yoga, if you need to walk in nature, between animals, be gentle with yourself in this process. And if there are practical steps you've been called to do, which you've been avoiding, do that as well. If you need a break from, from the practical steps, do that, whatever is with your circumstances. But know that it's quite normal to feel this and have been challenged a bit in this time. And very good tool is law of assumption, of asking yourself questions that suggests positive answers, like why is everything happening so smoothly in my life? How come things resolve so well and solutions appear when I need them? How come I'm surrounded with good people and kindness? How come good things appear in aligned time and place? How come I'm connected with right people and the wrong people who are not aligned with my highest timeline are leaving? So, and see how the world changes and see how universe answers these questions to fit that, emotions and gratitude. So I've been talking for quite a long time, and I hope you're being, being well, taking care of yourself, and create beauty around yourself. So you're surrounded by beauty. And if your mind is filled and you can find you're stuck in certain environments, please create beautiful things around you or inside you, so you know where to rest. You know that your beautiful, right, positive things are in you, and therefore the external reality will be just, temporary thing. Because, we all have to grow, we all have to change, and that's call for me saying, Dove, your crab who's getting too big for the bucket you're in. It's time to grow. As we're always growing. We're always growing. Be willing to. So take care of yourselves. Stay grounded. Be kind to yourself.